Hello and welcome. In this series, I will show you how to create the Instagram UI from scratch with ReactJS. In this part, I will show you how to create the blank landing page. We're going to start by setting up the project, and from there on, we continue with creating the landing page, which includes the logo, the search bar, and the action buttons. So to set up the project, I'm going to use a package manager named npx. I'm going to use the create react app command, and we're going to name our app Instagram UI, and we're going to use a template which will be TypeScript. So normally it installs it with JavaScript, but since we're going to use TypeScript for this project, I will give this template. So I'll be back after it installed those packages. So it installed all the packages. Now I'm going to install two additional packages, which will be the material UI core package and the material UI icon package, because we will be using the icons from the material UI package. I will be back after those two are installed as well. So now that the material UI core is installed, I will install the material UI icons as well. So after this is finished, we can start creating our project. So the material UI icons are finished as well. I'm going to open up the project in my code editor, Visual Studio Code, and I'm going to close this command prompt. I will open in Visual Studio Code a new command prompt, and I'm going to start up the development server for ReactJS by running npm run start. So this will trigger React script starts, and that will start the development server. And if all goes good, we will see the landing page from ReactJS with the spinning React logo. So after a few seconds, the screen will pop up and we are ready to go. I'm gonna go by opening up the app.tsx and start deleting everything inside it basically, and say hello world, this is my project. Now this will get replaced automatically with the text hello world, this is my project. And I'm going to use a reference for the Instagram UI, which I will find by searching Instagram #penguins. By doing so, I get this Instagram page with the Instagram UI. I'm going to recreate this page by dividing it into two sections, the navigation bar section and the content section. By doing this, I will create two divs, the navigation bar and the content section. So if we look at the project, we have the navigation bar content section. One more thing I'm going to do is I'm going to be using components. So in our source, we're going to create a component folder which will hold the landing folder, and inside of the landing we will create a landing.tsx and a landing.css. The landing.tsx is a TypeScript component, a ReactJS TypeScript component, so we will export it with the default function landing, and we will make it return our content. For now it will be rendering the landing component. So if we refresh our page, we won't see anything. Oh, and I even made a typo. I have to import React from React, otherwise it won't recognize the HTML elements in the TypeScript file. So now we are going to use this component in our app component, and we're going to do this by deleting those two, and writing landing, it will auto import it from where we created. If we look at the imports, it's correct because this is where we made it. And if we look at the web page, we see that it's rendering the landing component, which is what we put here. So I'm going to remove this class like this, and then we are good to go. I'm going to start by creating a container for the navigation bar, navbar container, and a container for the content. Div class name is navbar, content container, like that. And if we refresh, we won't see anything, but after I make the navbar itself and type in navbar, we will see that we see the navbar. So the navbar is going to be this top section of the page, which will stick at the top when we scroll. We're going to create two divs, the container and the navbar itself, because the container is the whole section of the page, the full width, and the navbar itself is only like 900 pixels wide. So that's the reason why I'm creating two divs. So to style it, we're going to add a navbar with a width of 960 pixels. And to make it even more clear, we're going to give it a red background. And for example purposes, we're going to give the navbar container a green background, so you can clearly see what's going on. After we have imported the CSS file, we will see the changes. You see that the navbar container is green and the navbar itself is red. We want to put it in the middle of the page, so to do this we will give it a margin of auto, and now the navbar is in the middle of the page. The next thing we want to do is create a little bit of padding between the top and the bottom of the navbar. So to do this, we are going to add a padding of 8 pixels. And then we're going to divide the navigation bar into 3 sections. We have the logo section, the search bar, and the actions section. So in the TypeScript file, we're going to add a div with the class name logo section, one for the search bar, like that, and then the final one, which will be the actions section, like that. I will put in the corresponding text so it will be clear where everything will go. But for now it's underneath each other. To put it next to each other, I'm going to add a display flex, and then to space it all out, we're going to justify content space between, so it's all evenly spaced. Well, for now I'm going to remove the backgrounds again, because it's clear how this is constructed. And I'm going to give the navigation bar a little border at the bottom. So to do that, we're going to use border bottom 1 pixels solid, and then like 220 RGB, which is really light gray. I think that's good. Maybe a little bit more padding, like that. And then we're going to start to style the logo. So to style the logo, we're going to change the name into Instagram, and to make it look like the Instagram logo, we're going to add a font family, which I've already searched for. It's this one, the BrushScript MT, BrushScript STD. And if we refresh, we see the font family. I want to make it a little bit bigger, like this, and I think it resembles the logo quite well. The next thing we want to do is center everything in the middle. As you see,
these two are floating above. We don't want it, so we do align item center, and those two will go to the center as well. And then we are going to start on the search bar. For the search bar, I'm going to use an input. So we are going to put an input with a placeholder search. And we need to close it like that. And we will see the input. And to create the input like here, we are going to use the Google icons, which we imported earlier. So before we are going to further create the search bar, I'm going to create another component for the search bar. So everything is nicely separated. We put it next to the landing, and we create a search bar.tsx and a search bar.css. And we are going to create a default function for it. We're going to also import React from React, and we're going to return div rendering search bar like that, and then we're going to import it right here. So, and if we refresh it, we will see rendering search bar, and if we put our previously created code in there, we will see our input again, but now separated in another file. So now we're going to add the icon to it, and to do so, we're going to import the search icon from add material UI icons / search. We're going to wrap this in a div, because you can only return one item within a function. So if we use it here, we'll get to see it in the web page any second now. Yes, so here's our search icon, but the next thing is that we get the search icon inside the input, and to do this, we're going to add position absolute to the placeholder, and we're going to give it a top of 0 pixels. But right now it's 0 pixels on the top of the page, and we don't want that. We want it relative to the search bar. So to do that, we're going to add position relative, and as you can see, it's relative to the search bar right now. We're going to give it a little bit of padding to the search bar, and we're also going to add a little bit of padding to the placeholder itself. And as you can see, it's now nicely placed inside of the search bar. And the final thing we are going to do is we're going to fix the hover effect from the mouse. As you can see, when I hover here, it's just a normal mouse, but we want to change that. The cursor has always to be text, so if we add that, it will always recognize it as a text section. So now we are going to add this change to our code. We are going to give a class to the search bar. It will be the search bar container, so that we can give our position relative to it. We are going to give that to it. The placeholder position was absolute. We had a padding of 5 pixels. We upped this padding to 6 pixels, and if we look right now, it's almost the same because we forgot the top of 0 pixels. Yes, and then the cursor still has to be text. Yes, so now we created simple search bar. What we are going to do now is style it like the search bar from Instagram, and to do so, I will start by giving it a little bit of border radius. I think a border radius of 5 pixels should be enough, yes. But as you can see, this is weird, I don't know what kind of thing. But to fix that, we're going to give our own border color to it. So it will be a border of 1 pixels, solid, and then maybe 150 by 150. that might be too dark. Maybe something like 200 is better. Yes. Okay, so now that it has the same border, we are going to change the background of the input. So we are going to change the background color of the search bar. To do that, we are going to add a background color of 245, I think. And as you can see, it's a little bit tinted right now. And maybe the border radius is a little bit too big. 3 pixels maybe better. Yes. So what we want to do then is maybe reduce the size of the icon a little bit more and reduce the font size from the text as well. Maybe also 16 pixels. Maybe is 16 pixels already. Yes, 14 is better, I think. But now it's not correctly aligned, so we will add a little bit more padding to it. 6 pixels was fine, I think. Yes. Okay. So right now we are going to finish up the search bar, and to do that we are going to add the TypeScript function, because you cannot use the search bar actually if you press on the icon or the label. You can only use it if you press next to it. That is because this has the focus right now, and we want to put this focus on the input actually. So to do this we are going to use this function. We are going to use the onClick function. We are going to create a function which passes the click through onto our input. So we will use the document.getElementById. Our ID is search bar. We will say focus. So if we run our code again, we will see that when we click, yes, the input is focused. So even if we click on the placeholder, now the input works as well. Oh, and the last thing is we want to remove the placeholder when we are typing. So to do that, we are going to make use of the ReactJS state. I will manage the state in the higher component, the landing component. So I will create a const search value set search value, and it will initially be nothing, an empty string. So what we want to do right now is pass the search value onto our search bar. So we are going to create a interface right here, props, and it will have two properties, the search value, which is a string, and we will have a onSearchValueChange, which will trigger the higher component back when it notices a change in the search. So we are going to get a search value and a onSearchValueChange, which is of type properties, which we just added. So we will get an error right here. Yes, it's good, because we now have to add those properties. Well, the search value is the search value, which we just added, and then we are going to create a separate function for onSearchValueChange, and we are going to console this for testing purposes. I'm changing, and we're going to pass this in as the function onSearchValueChange. So right now, if we type something in a search bar, actually nothing will happen because we haven't mapped this function yet. So let me run it real quickly. Yes, it will still stay. So that is what we are going to do right now. If we type something in the input, we are going to fire an event on value change, on change. Yes, is we're going to get an event, and then we're going to launch our upper function on search value change, and then we're going to pass the value from the change. So if we open up our console right now, we can see that it is changing. We are not getting the value because we have to specify it right here. I am changing into, and then we pass in a new value like that. And if we refresh, we will see hello, working. So it gets propagated back to the parent. That is working correctly. The final thing is to hide the placeholder, and to do that we will use the value itself. So in React you can conditionally render components or render parts of a component, and to do so you have to add these brackets. So if we add those brackets right here, and then we check if the search value is equal to that. If it is, then we display our placeholder. If it is not equal to nothing, we won't display it. So if it works correctly, it will not change. Okay. Why? Let me find it out. Of course we have to update the search value, which it doesn't by default. We have to update it with the new value, of course. So right now the search value will be updated, and as you can see, the search bar is gone, or the placeholder is gone. Yes. Okay, nice. So that's for the search bar for now. And now we're going to finish up with the actions. If we look at the actions from the original Instagram page, we will see that it has a login and a sign up button. And I'm going to create that right here. I'm just going to remove this console.log because we won't be needing it anymore. And I'm going to add two divs right here, the sign up and the login, like this. I have to reorder them like this. Okay. So before I'm going to style them, I'm going, just like for the search bar, add another component so it all gets nicely separated and structured. It will be the button component, and I'm going to create a button file and a button styling file, and I'm going to create a function for it which returns a small div with rendering button. And this time we are going to add the React import from the start. So now we have to use the button right here, like this. It automatically imports it. It looks like this, just imported from the file we just created. And then I want two of them, like that. And as you can see, we now have 2 times rendering button. So the first thing that I want to do is be able to pass a label to this button. So just like with our search bar, we're going to create a interface props which will hold a label, and then we can specify the label right here, and then we can draw the label. And now it's going to ask us for a label right here, and this will be the login button, and this will be the sign up button. And as we can see, it correctly renders them. Next we're going to style the buttons. I want to display them next to each other, so to do so we are going to style the actions section. We are going to give it a display flex to style them next to each other, and then we're going to say that the first child is going to have a margin right of 15 pixels, so they are nicely separated. And then we are going to style the button itself. We are going to have one primary button and one secondary button, and the secondary button is actually as big as the primary, but it doesn't have any background color. So that's what we're going to do right now. Inside the button, I will start by creating the primary button, I think. So I'm gonna just close the rest of the files and open up the button. And we're going to give this a class name button. And then we're going to give it the background color of what color would it be? Let me open the color picker up real quick. Something like this. Oh, same mistake. Import the CSS dot slash button dot CSS. Yes. Okay, so that's not quite the color. So maybe this color might be more the same. Yes, that looks better. So now we're going to give it a little padding, maybe 10 pixels or something. It's too much, I think. 8 pixels. Looks better. And then we're going to give it a border radius of 3 pixels as well, just like the navigation bar or the search bar. And then we're going to give it a color of white, like that. And maybe a little bit smaller font size, 14 pixels. Yes. And I think the buttons are a little bit too high, so we're going to change the height. Oh, that's too small. A little bit. Yes. So this is top, right, bottom, left. So the top and the bottom are 7 pixels and the right and the left are 8 pixels. And now we are going to separate these two. We now have two primary buttons, but we want a primary and a secondary. So to do that, we are going to add a new property, which is primary. And we're going to make that a boolean. So what I also did was add a question mark, which means that it's an optional property. So if it's not specified, it is secondary. If it is specified, it is a primary button. And then we're going to create an if statement. If primary, we're going to return this button, and then have an else if secondary, we're going to create another button. So to show how this works, I'm going to create this text right here. They are both secondary right now, but if we add the optional property primary, then we will see that this one changes into primary. So that works. We now only have to style it. And to do so, we're going to give this a primary button class and this one a secondary button class. And I'm going to copy this over to our button styling. Oh, like that. Secondary button. Because we still have our main button class, some things are used by both buttons. The color is only for the primary. The secondary button has standard color black, so that's okay. Background color is also only for the primary button, and I think that's it already. Oh no, the color is blue for the secondary button, so now the text color is blue. And as you can see, we've created two buttons. What we want to do is add a hover effect, so that when you hover over the button, you see a little hand pointer. And to do so, we are going to add a new class, hoverable. And we will also use this for the logo, I think, because I think the logo, yes, is also hoverable. This is just for demo purposes, so it won't redirect you to any page, but it will only show you that it is clickable, even though it isn't, but yeah, it will be, kinda. So we are going to add, when you hover over a hoverable, we are going to add a cursor pointer. This can actually be gone. So now when we refresh the code, it will show us that we can click on it, kinda. Nothing will happen, but we can click on it. And the last thing I want to do is change the font weight of the button. So to do that, I'm going to add font weight 600, so it looks a little bit more prominent. And I think we did a pretty good job in creating the navigation bar. In the next episode, I will tell you how to create the content section with the images in it, and I'm looking forward to showing you that.